meeting of the Westborough Planning Board. We have a short agenda. We have a continuation of a public hearing for 2529 Research Drive. We have a continuation of a public hearing for the site plan application at 190 212 Oak Street. We have the endorsement of Mylars for West Park Drive, B-Walt traffic signal, discussion on the Housing Choice Act if necessary, and the Master Plan Implementation Committee if necessary. First item on the agenda is 2529 Research Drive. Marshall, name, title, and whoever else is going to speak.
Thank you. And for the record, I know that there's a new member, so if I could just do an introduction. I'm Marshall Gould. I'll introduce you again to the parties who have been here before, but we have Mike Fitzpatrick, and over here at the end of this row, Peter Sugarides, both from Samuel's company. And behind Peter, we have Scott Thornton, who is our traffic engineer. And behind him, for those who don't know, that's Bob Michaud from MDM Peer Review. What we are looking to do tonight is deal solely with the traffic, which I'm pleased to announce has been worked out between the two traffic engineers. And I believe Jim has a letter about that, but they are both here to deal with it, answer any questions. I want to just apologize to the board in advance. I am scheduled for the selectmen for a portion of the meeting from 6:45 to 7. So within minutes, I am going to run out and go over there, and I will be back. But you know the parties, and they will be talking about traffic. And if you finish before I get back, then you're lucky. You don't have to hear from me again. Okay? Thank you. So with the traffic, from our perspective being satisfied, Jim, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, as you know, at our last meeting, we have been talking about many issues, and we narrowed this meeting down to traffic. Since that time, the consultant for the applicant, VAI, Scott Thornton's here, got together with our consultant from MDM, Bob Michaud, and Bob is here to give you a rundown on the findings, his final recommendations on the peer review for this project, and then open it up to a question and answer and an opportunity for Scott Thornton from Vanessa to comment as well, because we want to be able to come up with a solution if any mitigation needs to be conducted, and I think it's outlined in Bob Michaud from MDM's recommendations. So I'd like to introduce Bob Michaud, who's a principal from MDM Transportation Consultants.
May I make just one comment before Bob speaks?
Mark.
Not about traffic, but if I'm not back, there's been an agreement with Jim that for the civil engineering, which we don't yet have the peer review report, we are going to continue this to August 9th. So if I'm not back to say that, I just wanted to say that now. Thank you. And I will see you soon.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, board chair members, planning board, Bob Michaud, MDM Transportation Consultant. So we've conducted a thorough review of the submitted traffic report, which actually was updated in April of this year to include the exclusion of West Park Drive extension. Right, so there was some supplemental analysis and an amendment to the originally submitted traffic report. So that's been reviewed. We issued our first comment letter in May of this year. The applicant has, on July 13th, provided a response to those initial comments. The upshot of it from our perspective is that they've properly addressed each of the comments that we've raised. But we do have a couple of points for further consideration by the board. They're not substantive ones, but they're important to point out. So I'll get to those 2 points. First and foremost, as it relates to safety, we had requested that the applicant conduct a more thorough review of the incident and crash trends at the Route 9 signal intersections where they come off of both east and westbound Route 9. Those are high crash locations, and they have, in fact, provided that information based on local police records. They've identified some very specific trends for which mitigation may be possible to address, and those could involve restriping of the ramp terminals themselves, and adjusting the equipment and updating the equipment at the one or both intersections to allow for a more modern and functional way to address how vehicles make movements through the intersection, right? There's specific equipment and standards that have been adopted by Mass DOT to improve safety at intersections that involve left turns in particular, where we see many of the crashes happening, particularly on Computer Drive. Any improvements that are implemented at those ramp terminals are subject to Mass DOT review and approval, right? They own those intersections. They control what happens or doesn't happen there. The applicant, and this is documented in their response, is indicated that they would pursue safety countermeasures that would comply with those DOT standards, but have not fully gotten that endorsement from DOT. So they have, and this is how we've written this up, they have agreed to pursue, in consultation with DOT, appropriate safety countermeasures at both of those ramp intersections, which may include a variation of either signal equipment modifications, signal timing adjustments, and pavement striping modifications, and possibly lane redesignations. Until Mass DOT receives a formal application for doing that type of work, these are all conceptual and subject to change, but we believe that the applicant and their commitment to advance those in consultation with DOT is appropriate, and that in our view, DOT would find those types of improvements useful from the perspective of improving safety. So that was one point that was raised. The other had to do with transportation demand management, TDM. The applicant has documented a number of things that they're willing to do as part of a TDM program, which are pretty much in line with what you typically see at developments like this in the Commonwealth. They are still in the process of refining that specific package, and we believe that that will be refined and formalized through the MEPA process and the subsequent Section 61 finding process. The Section 61 finding represents the legally binding commitment to mitigation by the applicant for locations that are subject to MEPA and Mass DOT review. That comes at the end of the MEPA process, and while they've identified several of the key elements of the TDM program, it's not yet finalized. So we're simply advising the planning board that there are appropriate measures in there, some of which we've suggested be augmented or added to the list that they originally provided. They haven't formally committed to those. An example of that would be providing a transit subsidy program for tenant employees to encourage the use of public transportation, right? And in this particular area, the Worcester Regional Transit Authority offers a service called VIA, where you could think of it as Uber, but through the WRTA. You need a ride to the T station, you connect to the VIA app, and for a few dollars, they'll come pick you up and drop you off at the T station, right? So one potential mechanism for subsidizing public transportation would be to pick up a portion or all of the tab for that type of a transaction. And while we think that's appropriate, and the applicant may in fact very well at the end of the process commit to that, it's not currently formally a commitment. But we expect that those types of things will come out of the MEPA process and the Mass DOT comments as they advance through that process. All of the other points that we raised, whether they're related to adding pavement markings for bike or what are known as Shero markings, things of that nature have all been incorporated into the site plan set. So we're satisfied that they've been responsive to each of those points, showing their commitment to electric vehicle charging stations, carpooling spaces, and things of that nature that in and of themselves represent commitments to TDM in some form as well. So we're satisfied with those commitments. Beyond that, the final stage or recommendation that we had to do with monitoring, post-occupancy monitoring, and the applicant has committed to doing that. It's a typical requirement of the Mass DOT process and the Section 61 finding in particular, and they've outlined what that monitoring is going to look like and over what period of time it's going to be conducted. We're satisfied that it meets the standard metrics for a project like this, and will again be memorialized as part of the Section 61 finding for the project. We understand that the applicant has been scoped for a single EIR through the MIPA process, so they've got a little bit more homework to do on the regulatory side, the MIPA side, before they get to that Section 61 finding process. But we're satisfied that for local review purposes, they've done a good job in answering our questions and elaborating and clarifying certain points. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any specific questions the board might have.
The only question I had, I guess, had to do with there was a comment about changing the driveway so that there'd be a perhaps left-hand turn lane or a joint left-right change in that driveway.
Right.
Which is the only thing that I looked at and thought to myself, just because of the fact that there's only one access out of that property onto a main road, essentially. So that was my only concern on that aspect of it, because, and I think maybe the post-occupancy monitoring is going to give us a better idea about what may need to be done, but as long as there's sufficient space there, put in extra lanes, I'm perfectly happy with that.
Yeah, I think ultimately DOT would have review authority over exactly what happens there, but the applicant correctly points out that for a 4-lane section of road, there are safety concerns with having a dual left turn lane out, but there are ways to accommodate that. I've always questioned why Research Drive needs to have 4 lanes. The volumes don't support it. I know I've been very familiar with that park for the 30 or more years I've lived in this area. And I've never seen the volumes on Research Drive rise to the level that would justify a 4-lane section. So there is a possibility, although I think it's necessarily beyond the scope of this project to do this, that DOT may very well consider revising that cross-section to have wide single lanes with wider shoulders that would better accommodate bicycle traffic, for instance, and would tend to operate a bit more safely. In that scenario, it might be possible at the driveway to convert some of those lanes to a dual left if you changed the cross-section of Research Drive. But that's not something that DOT is contemplating right now. It's not something that the applicant in this case necessarily controls, but it could potentially be an outcome of monitoring to the extent there's a really long delay on a regular basis out of the driveway, which is more an inconvenience to the applicant than it is to the public. The applicant could certainly petition DOT to restripe and adjust what that geometry looks like to better accommodate their own need. So that is a possibility, but it's not something that day one necessarily has to happen. I think monitoring will tell us a lot.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. I think that's all I have as well. Jim?
Just as a procedural question, typically, what will MIPA do with the applicant? Will they allow them to proceed construction without final measures to the driveways and the signal adjustments? I assume that's yes.
Yes, it's common for projects to begin some form of construction, site preparation, demolition, et cetera, even while during the MIPA process. They do that at risk, but the demolition phase is really a low-risk proposition, so I don't see that being a barrier.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Any comments from the applicant? No. Do we have a motion on this? We're going to continue this.
Yes, you have a motion.
Yeah,
It's written down.
We're in open hearing. Public comments from the audience?
Oh, my mistake. Sorry.
Sorry.
Thank you, Hazel. Gotcha. It's a public hearing. Is there anyone here from the public who wishes to comment on this project? Kristen, do we have any correspondence from the public at all? No. Okay. All right. Now we can make the motion. Thank you, Hazel.
I move that the planning board continue the public hearing for the site plan review application of 2529 Research Drive to Tuesday, August 9th, 2022 at 6:30 PM as requested by the applicant.
Second.
Discussion of that motion? All those in favor? 5-0 in favor of continuing that public hearing. Okay, yeah, that's right. John has, well, you can vote if you sign the Mullen on this one, right? Okay, yeah, I'm getting it mixed up. All right, so let's call it 4-0 in favor, because John can't vote on this project. All right. Thank you for coming in. We'll see you on the 9th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is a continuation of the public hearing for the site plan application at 190-212 Oak Street. And John can vote on this one with a Mullen waiver. So, and I guess I should have made it clear that I have to sign a Mullen waiver on that last project, so.
They should come up on the screen. Just figured I'd have it in the background.
TV get that,
I can look
is that what you're projecting up on
I'll project the same thing up there, so I just. We'll pull it up in a second. I think there's a net mark today. Barry Atchison with WDA Design Group.
And Jerry Haja, WA Design Group as well.
Been proponents for this project, 19212 Oak Street, for Farouk and Ansari Builders to provide multifamily development in the town of Westborough over on an intersection area of Milk Street and Oak Street, next door to the Westborough District Court. Is everybody able to see that up on their screens? Thanks. What you're looking at is the existing conditions plan. Milk Street on the left comes up to a lighted intersection, red light, stop signs. Then the road continues up to the right on Oak Street. There's a slight hill, a little over 4% slope going up Oak Street, and continues all the way down past the courthouse and DPW and area down there. A little back history is where Jerry's pointing soon. Used to be the entrance to Oak Street. It was since been abandoned. There is a small portion of driveway that remains right where he is pointing now. And there is an existing driveway entrance to the court that has an easement across the proponent's property. And it's my understanding that that easement and agreement and maintenance remains in place as we speak. This is a 2.1 acre property that we're proposing to put 2 buildings on. And you want to go to the proposed plan, Jerry? There's a big building there that he's pointing to. That'll contain 6 2-bedroom units plus 2 single-family units, and I'll show you another plan in a moment and describe that. Then over to the right-hand side, there's also a separate building, second building, that'll be 4 single-family units. Both of those units have garages for its tenants. And then there's spare space. At the bottom, there's 3 spaces, and along the front of the large building are 7 spaces and a handicap to the right. And if you go to the building, Jerry will show what we're looking at. This is in the same orientation, building number 1, building number 2. You can see you'll have a 1-bedroom down at the bottom. That would be the southerly end. and another single unit on the far end with 2 bedroom units in the middle. And then the second unit, building number 2, also, as I mentioned before, are all single-family units. I think we've got a drawing in there, Jerry, shows what those units kind of look like. Typical 1-bedroom unit with a car, come upstairs to a foyer. Bonus from go to the second story, you've got your living and dining room, kitchen, and then up to the 3rd floor, you'll have your bedroom, closet, and so master bath. You go to the 2-bedroom unit, looks very similar. With your cars coming in, your foyer, bonus office space, the kitchenette, dining room on the 2nd floor, and 2 bedrooms on your 3rd floor. We did meet with the the select board, and they did have some concerns as far as what we were calling the bonus room with a full bath, and we have switched that up to just the bonus room, and I believe it's just a half bath at the moment, or storage space, depending on the unit. Let's go to the existing conditions. Proposed building. So entering this property, we've got a large driveway with what looks like an island in the middle. That is going to be it's flush with grade painted surface. We need to get that low so that we can allow large vehicles such as the fire truck, ladder truck to enter. And I'll show you in a little bit the flow path for that. But in general, the flow around the property will be counterclockwise, where you enter in, crosswalk. You've got a storage space on the right-hand side for snow storage in the winter. On the western edge of the property, on that driveway edge, is a guardrail with a retaining wall that drops off, and then we're planning everything from there to the road will be natural vegetation and collection of some water, and I'll get to that in a moment. As you continue around the property, you've got on that southern edge is also continuation of the retaining wall. It isn't that high. I think in some places it may get up over 5 feet, which we'll have to get designed by structural engineer, and that'll be incorporated into the plans. And it also has a containment of a guardrail. Continue around, there's 2 square boxes right in the middle. That's the pump and septic tank and pump chamber. That'll pump up to the large square that you see at the middle of your screen, which is the approved septic system. Excuse me. As you continue around the property, we've got another containment area for stormwater, entrances to between the 2 buildings. Other utility we plan coming in is water will come in from Oak Street across, and then proposed a plan to tie in to location on Milk Street. Stormwater will be collected from both buildings, rooftop and the paved surfaces will be collected into drain catch basins, deep sump catch basins initially, then they'll flow into, right there, a storm treatment unit that'll take out nutrients and so forth, and flow into these 2 detention basins. The detention basins are there for storage and reduction in time to allow the runoff, duration and runoff of the accumulated stormwater. Those will be collected, and then over time will be discharged to the our left, Jerry, where we're going to discharge. There we go. So show where discharge, zoom in a little bit, and we'll go to the bottom. Perfect. Out the wall into the existing grade, that slopes down, and then there's 3 structures that are existing today that were installed during the, when Oak Street used to drive down there. They're drop inlets that were on either side of the road. Those 2 currently, the top 2 are drop inlets. They flow down to the bottom structure, which is a graded top concrete structure, and then flows through an 18-inch pipe out to the left, down the hill, and into an existing wetland or vegetated area currently. Our plan from discharge will be to protect all those 3 structures, and during construction and so forth, there's been some concerns and notes from the Concom agent to make sure that we protect those during construction, as well as to provide a little bit more information in regards to their capacities and so forth. We have since gone out, done some design, and I believe we've got enough capacity in those, but we'll provide the documentation to the respective boards. I think truck turning, that will provide this. This has been updated. We have discussions with the fire chief. His concerns is he wanted a little bit more room between the curb line and the front and back of the vehicle to provide any kind of leftover snow so he doesn't damage his truck, which is understandable, as well as the abilities to spread his it's going to be a total of 21-foot spreader, so he can park his ladder truck in there and do their work that they need to do. So we'll be revising this and sending it on over to the fire chief for his okay. Planting detail. So on the northern side of the property, we plan right where he's pointing is existing vegetation and trees and some mature trees that we intend on keeping there. Right where his pointer, to the right a little bit more now, that may have to be trimmed back a little bit more to achieve our sight lines, sight stopping distance from left-hand turn out of the parking space. But I think we're pretty close to where it is now. Looks like you pushed it back a little bit. We are required to have 200 feet. It looks like we've got over about 202, and we could probably gain a little bit more if needed. On the right-hand side for traffic turning, we only need 320, and we have, 230 is what was required per AASHTO requirements, but you can see we have an additional 100 feet, 321 feet is available to us. So we have plenty of stopping sightline distances there. As I said, the top will try and keep the existing vegetation. There'll be a grass surface for the snow storage and a few trees smattered about here and there. There will be a few light posts that will be no more than 20 feet per your regulations from existing ground to the top of the structure. There's additional snow storage at the front end of the existing building 1 and additional storage at the bottom where we're pointing now for building 2. The rest of that, Oliver, to the right will all be open space, green area. Another concern that we had heard from a board is whether there be ability to keep children or pedestrians on the property so they don't enter the busy route Milk Street and Oak Street. The intersection area, as I mentioned, it's pretty dense forest in there, so it'll provide a natural barrier and natural sound barrier along that side. Also, as I mentioned before, you'll have the guardrail and a wall drop off on the left and also at the bottom between the courthouse property. What I are considering at the moment is possibly some kind of split rail or box fence that'll go in front of the septic system and come across and isolate for the driveway to the courthouse. And I haven't fully shown that yet, but it's a possibility that we could propose on that. I missed anything, Jerry?
I think that's all. That's it.
Any questions? Any thoughts?
All right. Who wants to start?
Questions on the plan? I have questions regarding other things. Go ahead.
My basic question is I'm really waiting for more information. Responses from the various departments.
Yes.
Okay, we did receive quite a few.
We've got some of them, but I just would like a little more. Yeah.
John, anything?
And yeah, I apologize if these have already been asked. The easement, you're clearly developing in there, but you said it's still existing. What's the plan to fix that or to address that?
Say that again.
So the easement for the court, the driveway, you
Yep.
said that it's still in existence, but yet you're showing development on that easement. How is that being resolved?
To the proposed works. So our limit of work is up to the edge of that. And we're not planning on doing much in their easement, even though the limit of work is at the edge of the driveway.
Gotcha. So the easement does not connect to Milk Street?
It does not connect to Milk Street, no. It only goes from Oak Street and onto their property down where that black courthouse building, right,
Okay.
just below
That's
that, Jerry,
my
right there.
mistake.
Yep.
Okay. And you said the bottom floor, I don't know if we want to get into makeup of apartments.
Yeah, John, could we see the pictures again of the units themselves?
The bottom floor, you said, what were you going to do with that bathroom?
They took out the bathroom.
So there's no bathroom on the bottom floor?
He said he was just going to leave a half bath down in there. Just a half bath. It used to have a full bath down there, but now it's only a half bath.
Okay. Is there, Jim, this is a question for you, is there any restriction on the number of bedrooms they can do there? There
Yeah,
is.
two, it'll be restricted to no more than 2 bedrooms.
And is that by zoning or is that just by
So
some other?
the zoning has a definition of what a bedroom is. So the bedroom would have to be habitable space, which would include a closet and a bathroom. So if this bonus room, that's what you're calling it, does not have a bathroom and a closet, it cannot be used as a bedroom. And you can't get an occupancy permit if it's built out as a bedroom. So if you put a closet in that room, you won't get an occupancy permit.
No intention to do that.
But they could theoretically use it as a bedroom, just a bedroom
Sure.
without a closet.
Yep.
But you'd have to disclose it when you sell, that it's a bonus room and not a bedroom.
Yeah, there's ways to work around that, but
Yeah, of course, yes.
that's all I have for now.
Bazzoni, anything? No, nothing. Well, I have a lot of questions. All right, so I'm trying to figure out where to begin. Open space requirements on this, what are they and how do you satisfy those?
Open space requirements for this is 1,500 square feet per dwelling unit times the 12 dwelling units in the space of the 5,400 square feet. divided by 12 came up to 4,567 square feet of per dwelling unit.
How big is the lot? I'm sorry.
2.1
91.
acres. Didn't you say it was 2.1 acres?
2.1 acres, yeah, 91,000 square feet.
So you're saying you're about 50% open space, then? Saying you got 54,809 square feet of open
Yep.
space? Okay, does that include that easement from the courthouse? Is that being counted as open space?
I believe it is.
And what happens if the courthouse wants to put a driveway through?
They have a driveway through it.
So how can it be counted as open space if it's a driveway?
Count for that as open.
I think we did account for that in the total.
Just want to verify that, if you could.
We could, yep.
Maybe we could make a note that we need that confirmed. The septic system, is that counted as open space?
I believe it does.
Okay. And do we have any requirements?
There's no
or-
restriction on that.
No restriction
It
on
just has to be a vegetated area, so the area over their septic, if it's vegetated, it's considered open space.
You had said on the retaining wall that there'll be a guardrail?
On top of it, yes.
Okay, what, will that be, I'm just concerned about safety of, kids running around or, and also from a privacy, soundproofing standpoint I would like to see something more substantial and aesthetic than a guardrail, if you could consider that.
Would a wood, like the wood guardrails or?
Privacy fence, 6 foot high, something like that. That would,
Okay.
provide some security for occupants, and also some privacy from Milk Street, which is, I'm guessing that as people come off of Route 9, those cars will be pointed right at these buildings. I'm just, and I haven't been out there to see where the building will sit in relationship to the off-ramp from Route 9, but it seems like.
It's 1,000 feet
Seems
behind us. There's three single-family houses and one
Route 9
courthouse.
West, Route 9 West curls around to the street light, which is right here. And then if
Yep,
somebody
from Route 9
you
through
can't
that
take
stop
Yeah,
sign.
but you can't take a left. Well, I guess at the stoplight you can take a left. But if you take a right, you're basically looking right at, you're turning.
You're sweeping, yeah.
There's no privacy, there's no, headlights are shining right on the buildings. I mean, it just seems like you need
Yeah,
more
we'll
than
look
a
into that,
guardrail.
yep.
Mark, can I just follow up on that just very briefly?
Go
I
ahead.
seem to remember that when the discussion on this came up, there's a drop-off around this property somewhere. Is it the drop-off to Route 9? Is that where the drop-off is? Or Milk
Go
Street?
from left to right there, Jerry.
No, it's along Milk Street.
Yeah, it's along the,
And how much of a drop-off is it? Wasn't it fairly substantial?
no, 4 to 5 feet.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm concerned that 5 feet is still a safety hazard for a
Yep.
small child.
Which is why it gets fenced and guardrailed.
Right. Can you show me where the sidewalks are on this plan? And are those in the right-of-way, or are they on the property?
So the proposed will come, per our discussions initially, they wanted a additional crosswalk coming, painted across Oak Street. And then we come with a sidewalk, comes into the right, follows along Oak Street, then enters the property. But in discussion recently with DPW, they've asked us to continue that up to the entrance of the courthouse.
Okay,
no
so
problem with
I
doing
would
that.
prefer to see that connect with the sidewalks that Spectrum's putting in. I know that's a ways down, but, I I don't understand why we're just ending sidewalks. I'd also like to see it go down Milk Street. You know, you don't have, to me, it doesn't feel like you have a lot of open space there, and the occupants of these buildings are going to have to go somewhere. And I realize that Milk Street, I'm not going to ask you to put away under the bridge, but eventually, you know, we have to come up with a solution there, and that would include sidewalks along Milk. On the opposite corner of, if you scroll back up, on the opposite corner of Oak Street, where does that crosswalk go? Is there like a landing area or a corner sidewalk there?
There's an existing sidewalk that continues along, and then there's a crosswalk that goes down
So
to the development.
that
will
existing
tie in.
sidewalk, you'll improve that so there's handicap accessibility and a ramp and so on?
Yep.
I mean, you're not gonna just paint the sidewalk and then,
No, we'll have to make sure it's ADA compliant and so
Okay.
forth, yeah.
all right. Streetlights, where are the streetlights?
There's, just up a little bit, Jerry, right there's one, that's the stoplight coming across Milk Street. And I don't think the other 2 or 3 are shown on our drawing.
No, they're not.
They would be somewhere up and a little off that over to the right a little bit, if I think about it. Would be the stoplight going that direction, and there's got to be one on the other side of the street in the far corner.
Right.
Okay, what about where the driveway is? Your proposed driveway, any streetlights in that vicinity?
No plan to put streetlights in there. I don't think the traffic count will warrant that.
Okay.
Plus, there's plenty
Well,
of,
that was my next question. Do we need a peer review on the traffic because of the proximity of a state highway and the intersection? I think that's within our rights on this, Jim?
It is, if you think it's an issue, it'll have to meet the threshold. They'll work that up in the scope.
I guess I'm concerned about more occupants than the number of bedrooms is really stating, given the bonus rooms. So I would like the board to consider that.
yes, those interior lights, yeah.
Crosswalk streetlights. Fire hydrants.
There's an existing fire hydrant on Milk Street, just south of that, of our tie-in. And then there's going to be another right in front of Building 1, right there. And then the water main will come down and tie into the existing buildings where there'll be connections for the fire trucks and so forth as required.
No hydrants on Oak Street?
No hydrants on Oak Street in that vicinity.
Mark, can I just go back a second to your comment about streetlights? My concern is that people coming to this project by coming up Milk Street and turning onto Oak, since actually that driveway is fairly soon after you turn on to Oak Street, if you've got someone who's new, who's looking for this place, it may be hard to find. You see what I'm saying? As you come around that corner and then, you know, people you're trying to give directions on how to find that. I think that having some sort of a street light there would be very advantageous for safety reasons. And also, it also will warn people as they come around that corner, as people leave that driveway. They'll be able to see better. So I'm really concerned about the lighting at the end of that driveway, which I think needs to be looked at very carefully.
At nighttime, there's a little star. There'll be a light there to light up their driveway and anybody in that. Granted, I can't put light out across the property line.
Right. So
But you will, as you come up, you'll see that intersection because the physical edge of the road is out pretty far. as you come around that corner, you'll be able to see somebody parked there, somebody walking there.
If you're walking up Oak Street on that sidewalk, is that going to be lit, or are there any lights there on that stretch right here where the sidewalk's going in?
Say it again?
So where the stretch where the sidewalk is going in on Oak Street,
Yep.
is that going to be lit for pedestrians to walk
No.
in, right? So that seems like an issue to me.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you have people, you're providing access to that shopping center, for example, and, you know, you've got a crosswalk there, so, you know, people may well walk over to the shopping center, and if there are no lights on the sidewalk and there are no street lights there, I think we're creating a very dangerous situation.
There's right on that part of Oak that they have to cross over. I think it is a big concern.
Can I interject, since we're on the subject of safety in that driveway? Barry, what's the line of sight distance from the driveway looking west towards the intersection with Milk Street?
Currently 202 feet.
That doesn't meet the AASHTO standard. There isn't a comment to this effect from the town engineer, or I should say from the civil engineer at the Department of Public Works. I know the town engineer will be looking at that more closely.
Through the AASHTO requirements, it's actually 197 feet by calculations, and then they round that up to 200 feet as a typical design.
That's for a single residential driveway. That's not what this is. This has to be treated as a minor road because you've got 12 units there with 24 estimated trips morning and evening. So
We'll review that.
you should review that. It may require you to cut down the slope to get the line of sight. Safety at this location in the bend of Oak Street is a real issue. That's why the board is asking you for additional lighting for the sidewalk, because in the evening you could have someone on the sidewalk that a car doesn't see. Also, the transition out into the street, even though it gives you a longer driveway, it doesn't give you a better line of sight. As a matter of fact, it makes the angle shorter, so it may not be a better line of sight. I leave that to a traffic engineer to tell me.
All right, I think those are great points, Jim. Yeah, John, go ahead. Yeah, I'm not done with mine. I'm reserving.
Then go ahead.
No, you go ahead. That's fine.
So these are kind of off the topic that we've been talking about. The first one is this end unit, the top end unit, that looks like it's been cut off by the setback.
Correct.
Is that going to be, I don't even know how to phrase this, someplace that people are going to want to live? I mean, it seems like it's going to have a good portion of it cut off. Is there, and tied into this, the turning plan for the fire truck, it looks like it's really tight in that area. I think it might make sense to just drop that unit, make more turning space for the fire trucks.
Well, not only that, I'm concerned about the amount of parking for the project. I mean, you've got 27 total spaces, only 3 visitor spaces for 12 units. It seems like you're gonna, if you have, 4 people visiting this project, where's that 4th person gonna park? Are they gonna just try and
Well, each unit
on the side or somewhere?
Each unit has, all the 2 families have 2 parking spaces, and 2 of the single family have 2 parking spaces. And then you've got 11 others for
Okay, but how many total
other people.
How many total bedrooms do you have?
12.
Total bedrooms.
12.
Bedrooms.
Oh, 24. Yeah,
How many 1-bedroom units are there?
2, you said 2.
6. 6 1-bedrooms, 6
One-bedroom.
2-bedrooms.
Okay, so you've got 18 bedrooms.
18 bedrooms. Thanks.
You've got 9 surplus spots in some way.
I'd hesitate to call those surplus spots.
Well, guests.
Right, well, I mean,
But some
one
of
unit.
those are owned, so you really only got 3 visitor spaces that are up for grabs, so to speak.
No, I have 10 up for grabs.
Did I misread the, let me just get back to your, on the zoning summary table, parking, 24 spaces are required, and you have 27 spaces, 16 garage, 8 exterior, 3 visitor.
You update the 16 garage, that may have been.
Did that change? Or,
20 garages, 11 exterior.
okay, so you're looking at a different zoning summary table than I am, so maybe
That's probably.
you've updated that?
Yes.
So we have updated that.
I'm just confused how you generated all those additional spaces without impacting open space.
The additional spaces were that the building number 2 ended up getting 4 additional parking spaces.
You go back to
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Okay, sorry, where'd you get the
So from
additional?
our prior meeting, that was all that building, all 4 of those were on street or outside of the building. Now they're all inside the building as garages, so we added 4 there.
I'm still puzzled how you gained,
So are you saying parking in front of the garages? Is that what you're?
No, there's parallel
No
parking.
parking in each garage.
This is no parking. These are
Plus, you've
7
got
parallel
7 up
spots
the
and
side, the front side, 3 in the,
Hold on.
along there, and the handicap.
so those parallel spaces aren't in front of the garage doors, though.
No.
Go to the, actually, this picture right there, we'll show you.
Can you pull
Yeah.
that up on the screen?
Yep. So that's the back side or the Milk Street side of the property.
And can you have parking in front of the garages or no?
You could.
There's no parking on your plan.
No parking, correct, in front of them. So they cannot be parking in front of the garages.
The fire lane.
Correct.
Got the dividers, which is, I mean, are you going to have signs that say no parking? How are the residents going to know that you can't park there? Or are we going to have a lot more than 10 visitor spaces? We just don't know it.
It's just an awfully tight site, and I feel like you're trying to jam everything in. And I'm just not sure it's going to function the way it should. I mean, we saw that happen at, granted, not a residential development, but at the Starbucks, you know, they jammed everything in, and the site didn't function the way it should have.
It still doesn't.
Well, you know, it doesn't, but it's better than it was. I'm still really confused by how you generated more spaces, didn't impact, I mean, I'm looking at my version, and that has the parallel spaces as well. It's got,
Added them within the building of number 2.
okay. All right. All right, then. Yeah, I see the difference now. Okay. John, did you have something else?
No, that was just the other one.
What is the sewer capacity on number of bedrooms? I saw the health department's comment on soil absorption systems, and I just want to know what that is. 18 bedrooms within that sewer?
12
capacity?
bed,
18 bedrooms.
18 bedrooms, yeah, thank you. Yes, within that allotted capacity.
All right, so I still think we have an open question about whether our traffic peer review is required. And then I would expect that once this project is done, you would resurface Oak Street and Milk Street the way Spectrum is resurfacing Oak Street. I mean, that asks them to do that because of the demand, you know, the
Eating over the road.
beating that the road will take. All right, those are all my questions for now. I'm sure I'll think of a few more as we go, but
Can we ask for a peer review now for traffic?
You can ask, yeah, we can discuss that.
I really feel very strongly that we need
Well, I think
that.
given Jim's questions about the ASHTO standards, I feel like, it's a dangerous driveway, and I'm concerned about it, so that's why I brought it up.
What we'll do, Farouk, is we'll send a copy of the plans along with your application and all the data regarding the number of bedrooms and trips generated to a peer reviewer, the same peer reviewer that was here earlier this evening. They send back a scope of services, and you'll see the scope of services. And you and the planning board have to come to an agreement on the scope of services. And then you have a peer review of the site. And they will look at line of sight, they will look at design of your driveways, design of the turning movements, and they'll look at the safety, the transition of the driveway to Milk Street.
Did they look at the lighting too? I mean, is that,
They won't look at the site lighting, but they'd make recommendations on streetlights.
that's exactly what
Yeah,
I'm looking for.
streetlights, but not the interior.
On a project like this, I would want a look-back period. I think they discussed that, but definitely a traffic look-back if the project were to go forward.
They mentioned that in the previous project, yes.
Yeah.
So we can ask them if it's a reasonable trial period, I mean, maybe it's 6 months to a year,
Okay.
to look back at the traffic.
Thanks, Jim.
I have a couple comments when you get to the end.
I think that's everything from the board.
Did John comment?
I just have one more thing.
Go ahead.
if you don't mind. I think it builds off of your comment about the fence along Milk Street. The dumpster is just a chain link, and that's going to be essentially at Milk Street. So we're going to have to, I would want to see some kind of privacy fence to shield that from traffic on Milk Street, so people aren't looking at a dumpster as they drive down.
Okay, great point.
I just have one more. Is there any, for a project like this, will there be irrigation for landscaping?
No, I do not.
I don't know if
believe so.
that's a standard.
I think it's a great point.
Yeah.
This is the entrance to town. It needs to look good. And
Yeah.
I think, the buildings look good and the landscaping doesn't. All right, let's add that to our list. Jim Robbins, did you have?
Sure. So the civil engineer from the engineering department referenced some of the drainage issues they were concerned about with regard to the driveway and discharge from the driveway to your neighbor's property. So you'll need to address that. I've only highlighted some ones that I think that are typical, that would relate to our subdivision rules and regs, because we're going to hold this project to the same standard we would hold any subdivision for drainage. Also, the slope on the driveway has been identified as greater than 10%, and you're going to need to work with the Department of Public Works on that. They won't approve the driveway greater than 10%. That's right in our town regulations. As a matter of fact, it's right in the zoning regulations. The fire department commented that the swept path analysis for their truck does not work. You and I discussed this. I don't know if you had an opportunity to follow up.
Well, we've updated that, and we'll go back to him and talk to him again.
Okay, good. One of the things that the town engineer pointed out, and this time it's the town engineer, Lisa Elaine, in an email or a memo she sent to the board today, is she wants to discuss the length of the overlay on Oak Street. So you're going to be working in the straight. She will want you to overlay the entire length of your property to the intersection. But you can talk to her about that. So that is not an insignificant cost.
Did she give you how far she wanted from Milk Street?
She's still determining that, depending upon what she thinks you'll need to do for drainage, because you're going to have to change the discharge of your drainage. You can't cast water to your neighbor.
Yep.
It looks like you've addressed all my other questions.
Is that everything from the board then? All right. Is there anything from the public on this project? Comments from the applicant, anything else? Okay.
The only thing that had been brought up was that we're not looking for any waivers.
Okay, that's fine. Do we have a motion to continue this?
Do you have a request for a continuance for?
I move that the planner continue the public hearing for
Thank you.
site plan review application for 190-212 Oak to Tuesday. I don't think it's one, is it 190 to
It's 190 to 212.
212, sir, okay. To Tuesday, August 9th, 2022 at 6:30 is requested by the applicant.
Second?
Before we vote, discuss that, do I have to read this into the record?
You can go ahead, that would be good. It's going
We
to be
have a
entered.
request from the applicant dated June 19th. We hereby request a continuance of the public hearing for Hana Place project till next scheduled public planning board hearing on August 9th, 2022. And that's signed for Ruka Ansari. Trust. Pass that down. All right, so we have a motion for continuance. We have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? All right, that's 5-0. The public hearing. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the time.
Yeah, we're going to have to bring it up on the 9th, yeah. Okay, not now. Yes, correct.
Drew, since you're here, we wanted to talk to you a little bit about Village Commons. If you could just get a microphone. I know this is for a public meeting. Yeah, whatever. You know, I know the board is concerned
doesn't have
about,
to.
you know, okay. I know the board is concerned about the condition of the landscaping, and thought you could update the board on the success of that. And I don't know if you, I think you had another issue you wanted to ask us about, so.
You talk about Village Commons, right?
Village Commons.
Yeah.
Village Commons, okay. Majority of the work at the Village Commons is done. The last two affordable units are very, very close to being 100% done, but maybe 3 to 4 weeks away to get the occupancy permit for those two units. However, even though I was going to ask for number 16, but Jim wrote me an email earlier to this meeting that you guys couldn't make any decision today. It would have to be in the next August 9th meeting. I was hoping if the board would consider allowing people in number 16, which is a market unit, to move in. They are really living in a hotel, and their unit is 100% complete. But I cannot call for the occupancy permit because the commitment is that I have to get one more affordable unit done. But that affordable unit is so close to being done, and it's not even under the P&S yet. People are still working on it. So I was asking the board.
So close to close is not done. So close to close is not done.
No, it's not
So
done yet.
it's
Yes,
done-
I said
right,
that.
it's
Yeah.
not done, okay.
Yeah, but, so I just didn't want to jeopardize that 16 guy, who's a market rate guy, to move in, you know? And you can hold the last unit till everything else is done, if you want, so.
So the 16th unit, Santosh is actually here today. He's behind you.
Oh, he is? I didn't even see him.
Yes, so he's here. And the issue is that you sold him the unit probably a year and a half ago when the project wasn't going to be completed until, based on the progress and how you've been making it for 2 years. And that just doesn't make sense for a family to be put out for that long. And I don't think you should be bringing it onto the town, saying it's the town that hasn't provided the occupancy. The work hasn't been completed based on the contract, and that's the reason why they haven't received the property yet. So as a board, his family's been out for about 2 years, and now they're living in a hotel. It's at some point, I understand the project has to be done, but at some point, we have to take care of the family as well. That's just my feeling behind it.
All right, so here's my frustration with this, right? You came to us and asked us to ease up the requirements on the commercial building so that, you know, you could just build a shell and then you could get occupancy permits on some units, and we allowed that, right? I don't want to say, we changed the terms of the original special permit so that you wouldn't have to complete the commercial building. You could just put the shell up and you could get your occupancy permits for the same reason that you're coming to us tonight, which is you didn't finish the affordable units and get those occupancy permits, which was a requirement of the original special permit, right? Now, I'm very sympathetic to the buyer of that unit because I don't think they could ever have foreseen this, but you should have foreseen this. You should have known that you had to finish those those affordable units. So there's a frustration there. My question, and I know the building commissioner's not here, is there a way for the town to grant some type of temporary occupancy on the unit in question until those?
The building commissioner won't grant a temporary.
He won't grant
occupancy.
temporary.
I asked for it.
Yeah.
The project schedule, which was created July 18th of 2021, so almost a year to the day, had the 12th unit as being an affordable unit. This is the 12th unit. We're at the 12th unit now. So I also asked the building commissioner if the affordable units were built to the point of occupancy, and he said no. So for example, if he had built all the affordable units and they were ready for occupancy, then I think you could make a good case that you could let this unit be occupied. But the affordable units have not been built to the standard of occupancy.
So I feel like we're in a rock and a hard place because I am sympathetic to the buyer and his family who are future, if not current, future taxpayers, right? I mean, they're future neighbors of ours. And I want to come through for them, right? But, I just feel like how much do we want to bend as a board, to accommodate what's really
Not our
a
problem.
developer and an applicant who has not followed the terms that were set up from day one. And that's my frustration, right? Like we put this expectation out there for a reason, right in the original hearing, because we didn't want these affordable units to be left dangling in the wind or, incomplete, or, we wanted that affordable process to be given the same level of importance as the market rate units. And I don't feel like it's being treated that way. It's been, I feel like it took a year and a half to even hold the first lottery, and all I heard was, well, DHCD dragged their feet, but I don't know that that's true. I think they would tell us something different.
Can I clarify something here?
Wait, Farouk, realistically, how long will it take you to finish the affordable units to get COs?
I think within a month.
You think a month?
A month or so, yes, because they're finishing the painting and finishing inside.
So you think in a month they will be available? I mean, my inclination, quite frankly, is that he finishes those affordable units, he can come right back here and we can issue the permit for the family to move in. And I'm afraid it may be another month, but that's up to Farouk.
I'm working on it as diligently as I could.
And how long to get it done?
Yeah, but when you say about the affordable not being done, I have finished an affordable and it's sitting there for 7 months, completed. So we didn't go anywhere, just sitting there.
Okay, well, you need to comply with what the site plan said, and as soon as you comply and get those units finished, you say it's going to be a month, and I feel terribly for this family that is in a hotel at this point, but you need to go and be able to work with them and get this unit finished so that you can do this, because I think we have been very lenient on you, and we've been back and forth any number of years to try to work this out so that we could work together on this. And there comes a point you kind of have to put your foot down and say, this is it. So finish it. And if you say it's going to be a month, then you talk to your buyer and you can explain to him, and he's here, he can listen. A month is what you're going to get. So you better get it done in a month and get those COs without any more excuses.
If that's what you say, but his unit is 100% finished and ready to move in, except there's no occupancy.
But do you understand the reason why he can't move in is because you haven't finished the other projects? The reason why he can't move in is not because the town's not allowing him to move in.
I know.
It's because of the delay in the overall project.
Right, that's fine. If that's how you guys feel about it.
It's not the town.
So we couldn't even from a procedural standpoint, I don't think we could even, make a decision on this tonight because it wasn't on.
No, you
the
have to,
agenda.
the board has to amend their construction schedule that you approved, and you have to vote, and that wasn't on the agenda
So
tonight.
we would have to put it on an agenda for a
Yes.
future meeting.
There's one more market unit that you can hold out till the end, after the affordables are done, but it's up to you.
And what's the status of the trees, which are not doing well, some of them?
I don't know. I've heard somebody saying about a couple of trees died. They may have, but I think go look at the landscaping. They're fine. And if the trees are dead, we ask the supplier to replace them. I think one of them died, but the other one he's saying is not dead, still green inside. So,
Go look at them.
well, it's my responsibility to get it done, and I will get it done.
That's absolutely true. It is your responsibility, and
Yeah.
hopefully you can come back. Maybe you can come back at the next meeting and completed this so that the owner can move into his unit. Just see what you can do to get it done as fast as possible.
On August 9th, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah?
Right. I mean, I don't know that
Whatever
we
you can
can
do.
really, I think we can continue this discussion to our next meeting.
Yeah.
My feeling is we put it on the agenda so that we can discuss it, and if the board is inclined at that point to make any changes, I'd want a new construction schedule, but more importantly, I think you should just finish those other units. Because, if you could turn a month into 2 weeks easy and get it done, and just come back here and ask us, I mean, wouldn't even have to come back here at that point, because you'd have the occupancy permits on all three, right?
Yeah, once number 10 is done, I'm focusing on 10, one of the affordables. So once I get that done, then his would be no problem. And then number 13 is fine, because the other unit, the last market unit, is not complete. His is complete. The other one is not.
All right, well then, based on that, I mean, if you can get those finished, but I want a report from the building department as to where they are as far as this last unit goes. I mean, I'd like the building department to go out and look and tell me whether, if you've got a month plus worth of work on that last unit, then I'm not feeling very happy about that.
You said a month, and then like 2 seconds later, you said a month or so. So do you think it's a month? Because the next meeting is 28 days
I think it should be
out.
2 weeks is what I think it should be.
Well, I do too, the night,
I mean,
yeah.
I think,
Right.
you need to really focus your efforts on these units.
That's all that's left. That's all that's left.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, you're the one holding up this family from moving in. And if you need to put your pedal to the metal on this, I'm
I
really
am.
frustrated with it.
I was just requesting if there was a chance that they could move in, that's all.
All right.
If not, then I'm going to go ahead and push those units.
Okay. Well,
We can't even take a vote on that tonight because it wasn't on the agenda. So I agreed to have this discussion. I'll put it on the agenda for August 9th.
Okay.
See where we're at. It'll be open for discussion. We can hear from
Okay,
the public if we need to.
all right,
Hear from the building commissioner.
that's fair enough.
All right.
All right.
All set?
Mark, are you going to request a construction schedule?
Well, I think we would need a revised construction schedule.
You want me to resend it?
No, can we get an actual construction schedule, a Gantt chart?
Yeah.
Not what we have here.
Careful about that.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
All right. Thank you for coming in. Next item on the agenda is endorsement of the Mylars for West Park Drive, B-wall, traffic signal, drainage easements. Jim, could you just explain this to the board, please?
So the recording of the B-wall easement, the easement for drainage on private property at the intersection of the new connection of West Park Drive extension of Flanders Road, and the easement necessary for the signal arm and base for the arm is shown on easement plans that I have here. The planning board has already approved the easements as part of the subdivision plan, but the applicant, who is Caruth Capital, wants to have a separate easement recorded at the registry of deeds, and that's actually good for us, because that way the easement plan can be referenced separate from the subdivision plan, but they're identical to what was on the subdivision plan. This is not an A&R plan, so it takes a full vote of the board, the same as you would do for an A&R, but in this case, the board needs to sign it. I cannot sign it because you have not given me authority to sign subdivision plans, and this is a subdivision plan.
So, Jim, from a procedural standpoint, can we all vote on this? John wasn't obviously here.
Yes, because the public hearing was closed and the subdivision was approved. So, John, do you want to see the plans? Do you want to see the easement plan?
Sure.
Okay. I know you're used to looking at them, so it won't take you long. If you want to hand that down to John.
Assuming my signature is just endorsement that the planning board
So
already voted to approve.
Correct. So you would vote with the planning board and then sign the signature block. So the first one is showing the construction easement for the construction of the B-Wall, which is the Boston Worcester Airline Trail. And it comes off of the abutting property. Sorry about that. Which is Sudbury Valley Trustees and into the subdivision property. It changes the side of the road. It's on the western side. It moves over to the eastern side and then continues down to the cross at Flanders Road with the signalized intersection. The second plan is the permanent easement. That's the permanent easement after construction. So this plan actually shows both easements, and it shows the necessary easement that we have at the Flanders Road for the rounding of the new extension. And then the last one is the drainage easement at the intersection. So this whole area, which is on Caruth Capital's land at 118 Flanders, will now be receiving drainage. Hopefully not much, but it's designed to for a 100-year storm. And those easements were shown on the subdivision plan that was approved. And these plans were drawn by Beals and Thomas. Take this one. Thank you. Great. So you have a motion that references the three plans?
Here's a question for you.
Yes.
An ethics question. When was the subdivision plan approved?
April of this year.
Because I was with Beals and Thomas 4 years ago now.
2
Cooling
years.
off period.
Yeah,
has
it's 2
passed,
years.
So I
yeah.
would be okay signing these
Yep.
plans.
All right, we'll get them there.
Let's see.
All right,
You want a
any
motion?
further questions? Okay, Hazel, go ahead.
Okay, I move that the planning board approve and endorse the Mylars for the plans entitled Plan of Land, B-Walt Easement Plan Sheets EA-1 and EA-2 dated March 2021 with revisions through August 27, 2021, and a plan entitled Easement Plan Flanders Road and West Park Extension Sheet EA-1 dated March 22nd, 2022.
Second.
Any discussion of that motion? All those in favor? That's 5-0 in favor of endorsing those plans. We need to sign those, Jim?
Yes, the
Okay.
board needs to
Can
sign
we just
it.
put that till the
I'll
end?
lay them out on the table
Yeah,
with the Sharpie.
We have minutes?
Yes, we have minutes for the 28th of June and July 7th, isn't it the other one? July 5th. Yeah, I had a couple of changes which I gave to Kristen. Has everyone had a chance to review them? Okay, then I move we approve the minutes for June 28th and July 5th.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? And that is 5-0 in favor of approving those 2 minutes. The Housing Choice Act is on the agenda, but there's no updates. The state still hasn't issued any,
Regulations.
any
maybe.
updated regulations
Yeah, we're
on
gonna
that.
get 'em
So
done.
once they do, we'll hopefully have some kind of update and further discussion on that. Master plan implementation, I know we got several letters of interest. That period is still open, so I'm not sure how much we want to discuss the letters of interest that came in. I think we should treat those as a body and wait till after.
Absolutely. Yeah, my only suggestion is, which we did raise at the last meeting, was that if any one of us has someone that they think might be a good addition, to please feel free to get in touch with them and urge them to, if they're interested, to get a letter in.
Yeah, I think we should try and publicize this as much as possible as a board. And I know Kristen and Jim have done a great job of getting the word out, so.
And it's on the flashing signboard.
And Pete's probably talking it up on the sidelines.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I'm sure. So,
Actually, the school committee,
Yeah, we saw them, yeah, they were great.
yeah,
that
I don't
was-
really want to get into individual letters
No.
yet until we've got everybody's in, because
Right.
I don't think that's fair to discuss some letters now and then discuss them, everybody should get the same level of exposure.
my only question is, I think I read through a couple had questions about
Yeah, I
the
think-
position.
I
So,
think Jim has responded.
okay, that's all I want to know. Okay.
So would we consider those to be official, like, submissions of their name? Or do they have to provide
Well,
something else?
they have to, whoever wants to submit their name has to decide if they've met the criteria that we called for and the questions that we asked answered. I know some people had questions and Jim responded and explained, what our call for applicants was. So, not everybody's going to have the same interpretation of that, and hopefully they'll understand that what we're asking for, and some people will just say, yeah, throw my hat in the ring, and, I'd be good at it, and that may not be enough. We may be looking for a little.
Right. Jim, when you talk to them, did you tell them that, now that you answered the questions, that they need to maybe beef up their letter or whatever? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I
I've had
figured.
questions ranging from, is there a fee to participate?
I saw that, yeah.
No, there's no fee. To, what's the time commitment? When are the meetings? How many meetings? What kind of qualifications do I have to have? In those cases, I've told them that we expect to have 2 meetings a month until the committee gets to a point where they feel they know what they're doing, and then they may change the schedule. In terms of qualifications, I've asked them to please tell us a little bit about themselves, what their skills are, and what their talents are that they would bring to the committee, and what areas of the master plan are they most interested. And those are the 3 things that we actually asked for in our letter when we made the announcement. So it really isn't enough for someone to send me an email and say, I'd like to be on the committee. They have to explain why. Why should we pick them? That's the point.
But I guess for argument's sake, is that enough for them to appear before us and say, yes, I want to have my hat thrown in? And they may not have met the criteria of the letter, but does that mean that we
Sure, they
reject
could.
them?
Yep, everybody that sends me anything that says, I want to be on the committee, I guess that
counts.
they should be considered. If they send me an email that just asks questions, they haven't told me that they want to be on the committee.
Fair.
Yeah, I think we have to, again, I don't know. We're still early in this process. Let's see what kind of response we get, and then we can make a decision about who we're going to invite in. Invite everybody in who shows interest. See if there's 200 people that show interest, we may have to weed through that a little bit, just sheer logistical standpoint, right? Can't have 200 people.
Right.
That would be a good problem to have.
Right.
I agree. I would like to just tell everybody, anybody watching, you know who you are. The 2 people watching, maybe, hopefully more people are watching, right? But honestly, when we're responding to the people, what qualifications do I need? The only qualification I think you really need is a desire to participate and a willingness to. I really just want people to understand that, if they're truly interested in participating, that's going to mean a lot to me. And, obviously we want people with specialized skills, but, if you're
don't
just a
need-
citizen and you want to get involved, please please explain why you think a good addition to this committee, because I want to hear from you.
Oh, you're interested. Before we close, I just wanted to say one thing. Jim, I really appreciated this memo that you sent out to us with the what's going on in the public hearings and so forth. That was very helpful, and I really made a big difference. I think, for me at least, kind of to remind myself of the kinds of things that we've been looking at. So I wanted to thank you for putting the effort into doing that.
Was that the one that was to the select board?
No, this is a separate one to the planning board, but also included the one to the select board, yeah. It's just a very good memo.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any further business? Anything I'm missing? Anybody want to make a motion?
So move.
I think that's a motion to adjourn. Hazel, Pete seconded. Any discussion of that motion? All those in favor? That's 5-0 to adjourn.
I like my so
What did we
move. So
decide,
move is
August
a nice